Winter is overwhelming, breaking your spirit until spring returns. Now, imagine having a strange ability. The ability to, after getting up from under the covers, close your eyes and let your heart slow down and your body temperature drop. To the point where you end up ticking all the boxes of apparent clinical death and stay that way until the outside conditions improve. In a kind of little death during which your body's energy expenditure can be reduced by 100-fold. This feat is accomplished voluntarily every year by many species living in the heart of winter all around the world. They enter a slowed down life state for months. As you may have guessed, today we're going to delve into the deepest realms that torpor allows: hibernation. A strange mechanism of voluntary shutdown, close to extinction, and one that might well hide some of the secrets of longevity. Just to help you sense this state's strangeness, take the black bear, one of the most iconic hibernators shown here in footage by University of Alaska zoologists. A specimen snoring while it has voluntarily plunged itself into a torpor, in which it will remain for nearly 6 months. Spending 6 months without eating, drinking, or urinating, this bear isn't truly sleeping. You can't just wake it up. Because hibernation is not just a deeper sleep than usual, but truly something entirely different. Recovering can take hours or even days, and entering it disrupts and transforms your body in ways that are hard to imagine. Sleep relates to hibernation like a surface swimmer to deep sea exploration. Before winter, this bear gained about 40 kilograms in 2 months, going from 100 kilo to nearly 140 kilo. And yet, this fat reserve isn't enough to allow it to go 6 months without eating or sleeping while staying awake. To survive winter, it must conserve energy by entering the state of torpor called hibernation. Its temperature has dropped significantly, going from 38 degrees and stabilizing around 30. Its breathing rate has gone from 30 to 2 per minute, and its heart rate from 60 to 8 beats. And all these monumental changes, which would kill even the strongest humans, are just the tip of the iceberg. Internally, its liver, kidneys, and intestines have shrunk, while at the cellular level, other truly astonishing transformations are taking place. The activity of the immune system has become minimal. In the brain, many neurons have entered standby mode, and numerous synapses appear to have vanished, reducing brain activity to its bare minimum. Only the areas essential for maintaining vital functions, such as breathing, are still active. Mitochondria inside cells have adapted to a lack of new nutrients. From now on, the toxins produced by the breakdown and renewal of proteins necessary for maintaining the organism are processed by methods that no non-hibernating mammal uses or knows. All these combined changes mean that this bear's overall energy needs have been reduced by 75%. And yet, as striking as they are, these abilities are far from being the most exceptional among all those known in hibernating mammals. Note that bears lose about 8 degrees of body temperature, while other mammals can drop over 30 degrees. There are species of marmots whose body temperature drops from 36 to 7 degrees during hibernation. They then breathe only once or twice a minute, and their heart rate drops from 220 to 5 beats per minute. The Arctic ground squirrel, which lives above the Arctic Circle, can lose almost 40 degrees. It is by far at the very top of the podium, frozen during hibernation. This small mammal, which usually has warm blood, ends up having a body temperature lower than the inside of your fridge, while its pulse, which when awake is around 200 to 300 beats per minute, drops to 3. In the heart of winter, under the effect of the biting cold that grips it inside its cells, the speed of enzymatic reactions is reduced by a factor of 15. So while the bear lowers the energy consumption of its metabolism by 75%, the Arctic ground squirrel reduces its own by 98%. And of the 2% of energy left to these extreme squirrels, 4/5 are used every 3 weeks. They emerge from torpor for half a day, as hibernation is rarely completely continuous. It is punctuated by periods of awakening, during which the mammals bring their internal temperature back to normal values for a few hours. We still don't know exactly what the purpose of these awakening phases is, which almost all hibernators share, with the notable exception of the black bear and hamsters, which hibernate surrounded by the seed stalks they have gathered. We understand that it's useful to come out of torpor every 4 or 5 days on average to eat. But for hibernators whose only reserve is their body fat, such as the Arctic ground squirrel, as we've seen, these returns to the surface are very energy intensive. In fact, it's believed that these periods serve both to cleanse the body and also to sleep and eliminate toxins. It seems logical when you consider that during hibernation, the hedgehog can sometimes have apnea episodes lasting more than an hour. With such short breaths, it's unsurprising their body dangerously builds up toxins. Moreover, many species begin their awakening phase with long bouts of hyperventilation in order to eliminate carbon dioxide, which is excessively dissolved in their tissues. But having to come out of hibernation just to sleep seems much more surprising. But remember, hibernation is not just a special kind of sleep that's simply, let's say, deeper. All the experiments that have been conducted are categorical. There is no trace of brain activity specific to sleep during hibernation. So after raising their temperature and entering a waking phase, hibernators take the opportunity to actually sleep for a few hours. It is believed that these short periods of regular sleep help to restore some of the lost synapses and thus protect the brain from the damage that continuous hibernation would cause. The time between two torpor phases, usually less than a day, isn't nearly enough to recover from all the sleep debt. Another strange thing is that you might think hibernation only concerns animals facing harsh winters. But it has been discovered that, in order to best conserve their energy in hostile environments, some animals enter a state of torpor similar to hibernation, even in hot environments. So during the dry season, a lemur from Madagascar, the medium Cairugalius, is able, when food becomes scarce, to also enter a state of slowed down life. Beyond mammals, we know of animals in arid regions that are able to enter a summer torpor, such as the Nile crocodile, which often buries itself in the mud, while waiting for months for milder weather to arrive. A small bird was even discovered in the Arizona desert that doesn't flee south when winter comes, but curls up into a ball, and stays like that, practically motionless for several months. In fact, this process is found in so many living beings that we might wonder if we humans don't have some deeply buried traits of this ability to almost freeze our metabolism. For example, in Spain, remains of hominids have been found that are 500,000 years old and show types of lesions specific to species that hibernate. That leads us to think that some of our ancestors might have been able, during ice ages, to enter phases of prolonged torpor. It's just one step closer to us in time. We also know of about 100 troubling cases of people who almost miraculously survived extremely sudden drops in temperature. People revived from severe, prolonged hypothermia after falling into frozen lakes or being left for dead on Everest's windswept slopes. And this return to the living from a state that logically should have easily killed them is hard to explain. Except in rare cases, mechanisms like those that cause a bear to hibernate can also awaken in us. Learning how hibernators' bodies function could someday help save lives. For example, it has been observed that the brains of certain rodents lose synapses during periods of torpor, in a process similar to what happens to patients with Alzheimer's disease. The difference is that in these squirrels, the damage is reversible and is restored in a short time during the waking phases. Most importantly, these abilities let them resist hunger, thirst, cold, and death, while their organs, heart, kidneys, liver, even brain, operate in slow motion. Also interests space agencies, because such mastery could help solve several of the obstacles that make traveling to distant planets like Mars extremely difficult. The idea isn't to send bears into space, but to replicate. Ingenious mechanisms let them lose just 15% of their muscles during months of hibernation. And this, in order to minimize the muscle loss that astronauts experience in the absence of gravity. By mastering these abilities to take prolonged pauses in existence, we could also imagine putting the passengers of hypothetical spacecraft into artificial hibernation in order to drastically reduce the amount of food to be taken on board, as well as their sensitivity to ionizing cosmic rays. Experiments have indeed shown that rats placed in a state of torpor are much more resistant to these than when awake. Maybe one day, to travel through time, it will be enough to voluntarily switch ourselves off. Or rather, to put ourselves in standby mode for several months and then turn ourselves back on, waking up somewhere else in deep space. And the craziest thing about all this might be realizing that, even if the reasons why certain species hibernate seem pretty obvious, namely, to hunker down when conditions get tough and when it's impossible to migrate to escape them, the ones that could explain the deeper reasons for sleep still remain a great mystery. Yes, every one of us spends nearly a third of our lives doing the same thing. No one knows exactly why. I'll link the Science Étonnante video, which explains it well, here. Meanwhile, I'll keep spending a third of my life here, failing and hibernating in bed, and thinking about the fact that the amount of sleep we need is often, in winter, just 5 more minutes. Oh, I dreamed again that I was eating a marshmallow. But where did my pillow go?